Hello Muskogee Nation and welcome to the Culinary Kitchen. This is Chef Jason of Native Chef LLC. Today we're going to be doing a soup, and it's that time of year where it starts getting a little bit chillier and colder, and it's always nice to come home and have a stew brewing or a soup brewing and warm up the inside. So today we're going to be doing a roasted corn and pork soup, and I'm going to be using this hominy, and there's two colors, white and yellow. Today we're going to be doing the white color, so just going to have a lot of fun. I talked about in the I believe it was the planning video about buying in bulk, and sometimes it benefits to do that. So today I bought this pork loin, and I'm only going to use about a pound of it for the soup. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut some off for pork chops for another meal that I'm going to have. So that's where, you know, we're paying, you know, less money because we're buying more volume of something, but then we're utilizing it for like 3 suppers. So, you know, when this thing costs about, you know, probably about $9 or about $11 or $12, I'm actually getting 3 to 4 meals out of it. So sometimes it pays off in bulk. If you bought these already cut into pork chop pieces or a roast, you're going to pay twice as much per pound. So always utilize those freezer bags and utilize, you know, buying in bulk when you have a chance to. Sometimes these were on sale this week. That's why I did that. And just makes sense to utilize that product and pay less and then utilize it for more meals. So got a lot to do. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the corn roasting in the oven, and I've already preheated my oven to 375. It's preheating right now, so by the time I get my corn really drained well, that's key, you got to have it drained well, then be ready to throw it in the oven. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and let's have some fun in the kitchen. We'll get started. So first step, we want to add a little bit of oil to the hominy and really mix this good, and then we'll add a little black pepper. Get this all really, it's important to really coat the corn with the oil really well. And then what I did is I just took a sheet pan here and I sprayed it with the pan spray. And the key here is to really spread this corn out. Don't leave it crowded. If you have the space on your roasting pan, make sure that you take the time to separate them as best as you can and utilize every single square inch of this pan. And we'll just throw this in the oven and we'll start getting our corn roasted, and we'll work on our cuts of our vegetables and pork. So I took the time again to cut some of this down into pork chops, and now I'm left with the piece I want to use for the video. And what I want to do is I want to cut these into 1/2-inch chunks. So the first thing we'll do is slice it into pieces like this. And then the best way to trim this is after you slice it, then we'll just kind of lay them down and we'll just trim off some of this excess fat here that we don't really want in our soup. You don't have to get all of it, but get the majority of it. And so now what we'll do is we'll take these slices and we'll just cut them crossways, then we'll turn them this way and we'll get these nice 1/2-inch cubes. And then next up we'll take a couple medium carrots, and we just want to small dice these. This will give great flavor for our soup. So just cut them down into strips. And then from here, we'll cross cut this way. And what I like to do is kind of keep the carrot from falling apart. And then once we have it cut that way, we'll just small dice this way. Next up, we'll cut up some celery. So I just take the middle part of the celery, I cut the ends off, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these long strips. I'm not cutting all the way through to the end, and then what I'll do is I'll cross cut here, and then we'll just cross cut, and we want similar pieces, small dice, fine dice. We just want small pieces of celery. And then we'll finally dice some yellow onion. So I'm just going to cross cut this way. And then once we get it cut that way, we'll just cross chop and get these small pieces of onion. And then we'll chop up some fresh garlic. And then I try to utilize my time in the kitchen correctly, so I only want to use this cutting board and knife one time and wash it once. So basically I'm going to cut while it's available, I'm going to cut the parsley, and this will be for at the end whenever we garnish. And the corn is done roasting, and that's going to depend on your oven. Mine I know is a lot stronger than a lot of other people's ovens. So this took about 20 minutes, but yours might take about 25. We just want a nice little bit of color on there, and obviously they lose some moisture, so they shrink up. But this is an example that I'm talking about, not crowding them, because if you crowd them too much, they're going to start losing their moisture, and you're going to start steaming them instead of roasting them. So these are done. I'm going to put them in another bowl, and we'll get our soup started. I preheated my Dutch oven here. That's what I like to use for searing. So we want to brown the pork really well first. So we'll start with that. Try to get it on a layer on the bottom here. We want to get some nice color on it. And once we have our pork, takes about 3 minutes. Once we have our pork brown, we're going to add our celery, onion, and carrots. We're going to cook this for about 3 minutes. And this is important when you're making good soup. But what we did is, after we put the pork in and we didn't stir it, it was browning. But once we stirred it, it starts releasing more moisture. And then that moisture coming out of the pork is kind of sweating the celery, onion, carrot, and I also added garlic. I didn't add that, but I did add some garlic to this, fresh garlic that we cut up. So what we're doing is we're basically opening the flavors to these celery, carrot, onion, and garlic right now. And it takes about 3 minutes, and then once we get that done, that's really going to create we're opening the door to the flavor to the veggies, and then when we add our chicken stock, that's what's really going to make the soup good. So I'm also going to add some basil and oregano and stir that really good. We want to bring this up to a boil. And then once at a boil here, we're at our corn. The corn's going to add a really nice flavor to the stock and kind of reconstitutes the corn. The corn becomes a little bit chewy because we roasted it, which is a really great texture. And now we'll add the corn, put that in there. We'll cover it and we'll let it simmer for about 30 minutes. I want to put this on low now. We want to turn it down and simmer it. It's been about 30 minutes now, and really smells amazing here. So what I want to do now is add our frozen veggies that I let thaw. And this is important to keep the color of our veggies. So we're not going to overcook them. We're adding them right now. We just want to heat them through about 4 or 5 minutes, just until they're heated through. They're not overcooked. They're nice and bright and colorful, and that's what people like. They like to see food that's still got a lot of color to them. And we'll also add a little bit of our parsley. You can do this now, or you can just use it as a garnish, but I've got some here enough where I can use some in the soup as well as a garnish. So we'll just wait about a few minutes and heat through the veggies. And then once the veggies are nice and heated through, this is when you want to add the salt to your soup. Literally right before we're going to serve it. I'm talking like minutes. That way the sodium content's fresh on the taste buds, and you don't have to add some early and then realize it doesn't have enough salt and then add more. Add it right at the end. And that way it's nice and fresh on the taste buds, and now we'll just work on plating. Then we'll take some of our fresh parsley and finish off with the garnish. So this recipe wasn't too difficult. Just make sure you get those knife cuts correct. And again, what makes that broth really flavorful is when we started with the pork, and then we added the garlic and the celery and the onion and the carrot. That's what really makes that broth good. And then you can always use dried herbs. It's better, you know, just as good to use dry herbs as fresh herbs, especially when you're making soup, so you don't have to pay so much. You can utilize those dry herbs. Again, try to add the veggies at the end. Make sure they're nice and colorful. Add the salt at the end. Make sure that you serve that, right before you serve it, add that salt. That's really gonna be top on the taste buds for people. So hopefully what happens is when you bring it to them and they start tasting it, they don't have to add salt. That's what we're hoping. A lot of people will just do it naturally, but ask them to taste it first. And I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm going to enjoy a really good lunch here. Again, thank you so much for watching. I sure appreciate it. I hope you learned something today or had fun watching. I have a blast doing these videos, and I'm just so fortunate and thankful to have the opportunity. So thank you again to the Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma for bringing me in to present, and I just had a great time. Until I see you in the next video, take care and stay safe. Miigwech.